last week after having spent some time in D.C. in our nation's capital and grappling with the gravity of current times. But I've come to realize these challenges that we're facing, they're not new. They're very familiar, and that history has seen moments like this before, moments where fear rises, where power stretches its limits, where communities are left wondering if they still belong or where their power rests. And that warning to me is very simple. Human events repeat because human nature doesn't change. The same passions, fear, ambition, hope, they show up again and again. So if we want to understand where we're headed, we have to be honest about where we've been. We've been a country that excluded before. We've been a country that overreached before. We've been a country pulled into conflicts that didn't center our people. But we've also been something else. We've been a country that corrected course, that organized, that pushed forward, that expanded who gets to belong. Because if the same forces that created our hardest moments still exist, so do the ones that led to our greatest progress. The same passion, the same drive, the same refusal to accept injustice as permanent. So this moment we're in right now, it's not random. It's a part of that pattern. And the question isn't whether history will repeat itself, it's which version of it we choose to repeat. The one driven by fear or the one driven by courage and opportunity to persist. Because the future isn't just something we predict, it's something we decide.
Very nice. Thank you very much. I do want to note that Mayor Shepherd is out of town this week, so I am presiding as the Mayor Pro Tem. And I believe that's the only... Oh, and Danielle King is also out. She is sick today, so. All right. Now we are on to the public hearing.
Approval of minutes.
Minutes?
Mayor.
Nope. I still want to do that. Okay. The minutes for approval, February 10th, work session, policy session, February 24th, work session, policy session. Is there any further discussion, any changes? If
Your Honor,
not,
I move to approve the minutes as stated.
Second.
I have a motion by Carice and a second by Dakota. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No further discussion. Okay. All right, now we can do the public hearing. Okay, perfect. So Allison, if you would like to come up to tell us a little bit about the public block grant CDBG annual action plan, the amended 2025 through 2029 consolidated plan, annual action plan for the citizen participation. Okay. There we go. Fair enough.
Okay, perfect. Okay, we're here to open a 30-day comment period for 3 different actions. We have the annual action plan for 2026, 2027, amend the con plan of 2025 through 2029, and then amend the citizen participation plan. So just to go over the annual action plan, we're expecting to receive $200,000. We're going to break it into 3 categories: the public service allotment, give it to 3 different agencies, split it equally, administration cost, and then we're trying to still figure out for the facilities, park, neighborhood, public improvements, however you want to say it. Here are some ideas that we've come up with. All of them would qualify as long as we use them in a qualifying area on some of them. We're asking council for any kind of direction, if there's any of them that you guys see up there that you would really like, or if there's one that's not on there, if you would like us to look into it, or if you want to get back to me. Or if it's fine if we use any one of them.
Yeah, we can look into them.
Okay, perfect. So the amendment for the con plan, we are just reallocating $26,000 from prior year fundings, which is the 2019 and 2020, to help with the current, even though it's done, the elevator here at City Hall. So this page is just the one page we would amend in the con plan. Any questions on that one? Okay. And then the citizen participation plan, the only real thing we're changing is instead of using the standard examiner, we are moving to just post it on the public notice website. and then the Clearfield website. So when you see right here in yellow is what we're going to put in there. I did want to bring up the actual plan because there's a few other, if I can get there, there's a few other changes on it that I just want to show you. Uh-oh, did I lose it again? Sorry. I can just tell you some of them. So, yeah. Some of them, a couple of the changes besides that one with the standard examiner. In some of the spots, it had just the consolidated plan. When we do this, when we do any kind of amendments or anything, it's either the consolidated plan and or action plan. So we've just added that in there. Wherever it says consolidated plan, we just added annual action plan. And then the other minor change is when we do offer it in a hard copy, it was in a disc format also, but we have changed it to a digital format so we could email it out if they wanted it. And that's basically all the changes in the citizen participation plan. Any questions? All right, that's all I have. Thank you.
All right. So we are going to open up the public hearing to receive public comment. I get to do that like 6 times, right? Okay.
And we didn't receive any forms, right?
Were there any forms or any online? Okay.
And as I understand, the comment is supposed to be open for 30 days, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Seeing no further comments, I'll look for a motion.
Your Honor, I move to keep the public comment period open for 30 days as stated.
I have a motion by Carice. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion by Carice and a second by Dakota. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion stands. All right, next we are going to go through the public comment regarding, the amending of utility rates and fees, business license fees, planning and zoning. Is that right? Mm-hmm. And then, Rich, if you would like to speak.
Hi. So on the utility changes, we did a study in 2021, and we are recommending to do those rate changes in fiscal January of 2028, which we have been doing for a while now, is the 6% increase to water base fees, 2% to the usage, 2% sewer base fees, and 3% storm increase. We're also proposing to change language on how a residential single-family base rate is charged, so to cut out the 5/8 inch meter and just not reference a size of meter. And then there was proposed changes to our delinquency process. Our third delinquent notice, which usually results in a shutoff, is currently $35. We propose to increase that to $40. In the staff report, I showed how we calculate how much it actually costs us, and it's actually a little higher. So these are still lower than what our actual cost is. And then if adding a new fee to reconnect after hours, instead of 35, it's now 60. And then water meter damage. Currently it's $500, but we want to change that to the cost of the meter plus $250. Those are the utility adjustments, proposed adjustments.
All right, then Stacy.
I'm gonna click. Never mind, I'm not going to plug in. I'll just review with you guys. So we have a couple different sections of the code. The first one is in the business license fee schedule. We currently have engaging in business without a license.
Stacey, I'm sorry. I recognize that. Would you mind plugging in? Just we've got an online audience and we've got people here. Yes. It's just nice to be able to see that and view that. Thank you.
Just have to fight Tyson for it.
So yes, this is the first one, or the only one in the business license section. In the past, we have just been charging 50% or a $50 fee for engaging in business without a license. We are proposing to change that to charge 50% of the total amount due. So whatever their license fee is, their engaging in business fee will be 50% of that. We will move over to planning and zoning. This is just kind of an update. We recently updated our zoning code. Instead of just having internal accessory dwelling units, we are now licensing both attached and detached. And so we're just changing the language on that, the way it's called out. Another one on here is currently listed in Title 11, where we address our signs, and it did call out the $100 fee for installing a sign without a permit or altering a sign without a permit. And just to make it consistent, we just wanted to make sure that that language is listed in the consolidated fee with the other ones. Under building permit fees, we do have identical plans fee. We used to just do residential identical plans, and now we could potentially get identical plans for commercial projects as well, but we are proposing to change that from a $47 fee to the actual cost of performing the plan review fee or 30% of the building fee, whichever is less. And I think that's it for my sections.
Okay. Thank you very much. Eric is up next.
Uh-oh.
Oh, now we broke it.
Are you at cemetery?
No, well, I'll start with recreation all the way on the left.
You know how to run that.
Yeah, thanks. Okay. The fees that we're proposing changes to tonight are those in recreation. We have some in cemetery fees and special events. Fees that we have not adjusted since 2014. So we're certainly overdue for those changes. There's only a couple in recreation. First of all, the rental fee for pavilion rental, which we rent in 4-hour blocks from 8 to noon, and then from 1 to 5 and from 5 to 9. For that 4-hour block, currently the rate is, as you see up there, $20 for that 4-hour block for a resident and $40 for non-residents. We're recommending that be increased to $40 for residents and $80 for non-residents. Other changes in this section really are eliminating fees that currently or will no longer be necessary. With the proposed changes to the amphitheater, we won't be renting that anymore, so we would recommend removing that fee. And then we just haven't ever had anyone use scoreboards or reserve scoreboards, so recommending eliminating that fee and the associated cost of having an operator of those scoreboards there. And that's everything in recreation. And I wish that the cemetery were as simple as that, but there's more in the cemetery section. Last month or earlier this month in the work session when we discussed this fee, before I talked about the fees, I indicated our current situation with the availability of plots and for sale. At that point, we weren't recommending an increase in fees, and we still aren't for residents based on that discussion. But because currently we have fewer, right now about 65 total plots available. With a recent survey and an addition of 60, we have a very limited number of plots available. And so in the discussion, in the work session, it was recommended to us that we leave the resident fee at $450 for an adult plot. And then for non-resident, we discussed raising that. It was recommended potentially as high as what Kaysville does, which is $6,400 per plot. I would suggest that's high, and we should probably $1,500 to $2,000 is my recommendation. So if you have a preference for that. Our recommendation is $1,500, but if you feel differently, we can make that adjustment higher. Other than that, most of our fee changes, recommended fee changes at the cemetery were for internments. The price of internment for adult, we're recommending an increase from $300 for residents to $500, and for non-residents from $600 to $1,000. That's for full-size plots. For infant or cremains size plot, or basically half-size plots, the recommendation is to go from $200 to $300 for residents and from $300 to $500 for non-residents. The other fee changes recommended, am I on there here? Yeah, we're still there. So for internments that take place after 3 p.m. that require our staff to be there after work hours, accruing overtime and so forth, and on weekends, recommended a fee increase from what was, make sure I get this right, for both evenings and weekends and holidays, $300, from $200 to $300 per hour. And, well, no, wait, make sure I get this correct. Saturdays and holidays would be $800 per hour, but the internment after 3 during the week, $300 per hour for residents and the same for non-residents, in addition to the regular internment fee, and then Saturdays and holidays, $800 for residents and $1,500 for non-residents. I got that right in the end. Disinterment fees, recommending an increase of that from $500 to $1,000. And then we discussed the certificate transfer fee, particularly for someone who purchases a plot as a resident and then transfers to a non-resident. The recommendation from this body was to make that fee for the first year the same as the difference between the purchase price of those plots, so that to avoid someone having a Clearfield resident purchase that for them and then transferring it at a much reduced rate. With an adjustment, we have on here that change would be a $500 difference, but with the recommended proposed change tonight, instead of $500, that would be $1,050 if we go to $1,500 for the plot for a non-resident. So that rate would be significantly higher for that 1 year. After that first year, the certificate transfer fee then is $50, which is a change from $10 that it currently is. Finally, removal of headstones or resetting currently is $25. Let me make sure. $25, and we're recommending an increase to $100. And then the only other changes at the cemetery are recommending that we do not allow internments on the following holidays: New Year's Day, Memorial Day weekend, between noon on Friday before Memorial Day and noon the Tuesday after Memorial Day, to allow our crews to have that weekend off. Independence Day, to include July 3rd and 4th, to allow our crew the opportunity to be at the venue for the 4th of July festivities and be setting that up on the 3rd. Pioneer Day, Thanksgiving Day, and Christmas Day. And then for any other federal holidays, the rates would be as we discussed earlier for those interments. That was a lot in the cemetery. Are there any questions on that part?
On line 3, where it has the plot adult, I don't know if there was anything above that on line 2. No, right there. You had mentioned fee changes right there, but I'm not seeing any redlined.
No, there are a few errors in here. My notes last time, as you recall, I had one eye.
Which is
And so I noticed tonight that I hadn't updated this in every area, so that's missing.
because there was I think there was one other one as well. There was the plot fee on that one, and then it was also the certificate transfer fee. Was that it, 18?
Yeah, the first year certificate transfer fee.
And just one point of clarification. What would be the transfer fee after year 1 drops significantly? I mean, is there the potential for the same type of abuse that you guys have seen before, where you just go a day in a year and then you do it?
Typically, that, if someone were to make that arrangement, that would happen early.
Okay, so that would take care of it.
You'd have to trust somebody quite a lot to count on them for $1,000, is the thought behind that. We could extend that period, but I think history has shown that even with the lower rate, those certificate transfers tend to happen early,
Okay.
and especially when they're trying to get a discount that way.
Okay.
Anything else on the cemetery fees? There was a lot there.
Any questions?
Okay, and then I have just a couple for special events. We had discussed what we are calling a displacing the public fee. That's for areas where we don't have any rental fees, but certainly a special event takes up that area and prevents the use by the rest of the public. It was recommended that we have this as a per hour fee, so we're recommending $100 per hour. Would be for places like the trails, as a good example.
Can you click on that?
Yeah, I was just going to ask if
Oh,
you
yeah,
could
sorry.
move the tab.
I'm so busy taking classes on and off and figuring out how to work that. Where is, oh, it's the red one that should stand out. We did also, it's not clearly reflected there, but the special event application fee, we had 3 separate fees, I believe 10, 25, and 50, depending on the size of the event. Again, this is another one that's not clearly reflected in here, but we're recommending just one fee at $100 for clarity. And the other fees that are on here as well, we feel like it's important for anybody who wants to run a special event to know what these fees could be up front, and they can plan their event accordingly. Prior to these changes, if they wanted to make, or they would have to fill out the application, explain what their event would be, and then we would respond with whatever fees or needs they might have if they needed to close an intersection or needed water service or something else. We would then come back to them. This just gives them that information up front. And there are some of these that are in there already, but let's see. The failure to pay or a late fee of $50 if the payments are late. Late request of temporary noise or special event permit, which is one that's in the books already. The $175 is already on the books, but I don't know that enforcement of that or it's ever been charged in the history. But those are still on the books in multiple places. Okay. Let's see, contracted service for police officers is $120 per hour with a 2-hour minimum. Streets and intersections closed. If we needed to close an intersection, 1 to 3 intersections would be $300 an hour. And to close 4 or more intersections would be $750 per hour. $200 per additional water services, and the others are already existing. They just moved from under recreation fees to this section. Are there any questions?
Don't unplug it, though.
Yeah. I'm going to have Rich come back up and look through the utilities section since we have the copy of it pulled up so the audience can see.
I think that tab was just on the far left.
Like one of the first.
This is small. So yeah, January 1st to 28th, this would be those increases I discussed, effective that date. This is really small. And then we talked about sewer for the fiscal 28. Storm would go up to 1029. And then the late fees, this is the $40 shut off, and reconnect after hours, the new fee is $60, and then meter cost plus $250 on water meter damage. Is that good?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Just so we can see it. All right, so we will now open up the public hearing to receive comments for the utilities, business license fees, planning, zoning fees, building permits and development fees, as well as the cemetery. Do we have any questions or comments online?
Mayor Pro Tem, seeing no request to comment, I would move to close the public hearing.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any further discussion? Okay. Next, we will receive public comment on the zoning map amendment to rezone the properties located approximately 240 East, 1700 South, from commercial to agriculture to commercial residential, and residential to allow for a mixed-use development.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Ratchford and Council. This rezone request, there's two subject properties associated with the request. The first one is approximately a 1 acre property. It's currently zoned C2 commercial along Antelope Drive. The second property is just directly to the east of that. A little bit larger, it's 1.6 acres. The current zoning designation is A1 agricultural. That second property, it's kind of a flag-shaped lot, so there's a narrow part that goes along the east of the first parcel, and then it opens up to a larger area directly behind the first property. The rezone request includes proposed zones of C2 commercial along the frontage, R3 for the middle portion of the property, and then R16, a single-family zone for lots that are at least 6,000 square feet at the very rear of the property. The purpose of the rezone is to rezone the subject properties in a manner that would allow for a mixed-use development that would include commercial, townhomes, and single-family uses as well. Here on this screen, you can see a couple of maps. On the left-hand side is the general plan future land use map. So you can see the subject properties outlined in red. The entirety of both properties, they're in that future land use designation of general commercial. On the right-hand side, we've got the zoning map. So again, just showing the current zoning of the properties. The first one, C2 commercial, and then the second one, A1 agricultural. The applicant included a proposed zoning exhibit with their application and a concept site plan to go along with it. So here you can see they've got that the top portion, that would be the part of the property that would be adjacent to Antelope Drive. That's where they're proposing the C2 commercial zone. That's about 1 acre in size. The middle portion is a little bit larger than an acre, 1.13 acres. That's where they're proposing the R3 multifamily residential zone. And then on their concept, they're showing townhomes, 18 total townhomes, which would be a density of about 16 units per acre. At the very rear, you can see a couple of single-family lots. That's where the R-1-6 zone would be for single-family. In analyzing the request, staff looked at the future land use designation of general commercial. So that designation is primarily for commercial activities such as office, retail, entertainment, and restaurant uses. However, and this is new with our updated general plan, the general commercial designation is open to mixed-use development with residential within that general commercial designation. But what it says is that the residential can't be done without a commercial component. And again, the primary consideration is the commercial aspect of any development. So along with analyzing that future land use designation, the proposed rezone can be supported by the general plan. I said that commercial is the primary consideration, so in analyzing the request, a couple of key questions came to mind, and those are, does the proposed rezone align with the commercial vision of the Antelope Drive corridor for the city? And is the proposed C2 zone of sufficient depth to advance the city's vision for the Antelope Drive commercial corridor? This exhibit was included with the staff report to help visualize the Antelope corridor, just a greater segment of the corridor, to look at the existing C2 commercial zone properties, but also some of the existing commercial uses along the corridor. You can compare what's existing, zone C2, to what's being proposed. The depths of commercial vary along Antelope Drive. There are certainly parts of Antelope Drive where the commercial goes back a bit further than what's proposed with this application. But then there are also some sections of the corridor where it's a similar depth to what's being proposed. In addition to the future land use map, staff analyzed the moderate income housing plan, which is a portion of the general plan. So with strategy A, there are a couple of strategies in the moderate income housing plan that are relevant to the request. Strategy A, rezone for densities necessary to facilitate the production of moderate income housing. And strategy F, zone or rezone for higher density or moderate income residential development in commercial or mixed use zones near major transit corridors, commercial centers, or employment centers. Both of those strategies of the moderate income housing plan lend some support to the proposal. Further analyzing that, the housing supply and affordability continue to be major concerns for communities along the Wasatch Front. And with that, state code requires cities to report every year on the implementation of the moderate income housing plan. So a rezone like this would definitely aid efforts of a city to report on progress with the moderate income housing plan. But that said, the city also has several ongoing moderate income housing strategies related to several projects and Clearfield's downtown throughout the city that we can report on as well. Recently, Clearfield adopted the Transportation Master Plan, and in analyzing the Transportation Master Plan, there's a section that identifies connectivity improvement opportunities in the city, and that's where an extension of 1800 South is identified from 200 East to Chelmus Way as an improvement opportunity for the city's transportation network. And I'll show you what that looks like here. So there you can see that extension of 1800 South, that would go right through the subject properties that are part of the rezone request. Like we looked at with their concept plan, they're proposing access just off of Antelope Drive. This transportation master plan and the connection of 1800 South, that really represents ideal connectivity for future development of the area. The proposed concept plan, they are showing 1800 South built within their property and stubbed on both sides to plan for a future connection, but that timeline is unknown. The connection wouldn't be made as part of this development. Just to share an update, they did, after the work session, they had a UDOT pre-application meeting based on the site plan, and I can just summarize that meeting. UDOT, they were in favor of a consolidation of access between the subject properties. So there's 3 current access points, or I guess curb cuts, I should say, along the 2 properties. So UDOT is in favor of consolidating those down to 1, but also consolidating the access that's providing access to a small parking lot directly to the west of the property. So those apartments that are just west of the property, there's one access that goes into that little parking lot that's right adjacent to Antelope. UDOT, their recommendation was to consolidate access there with the future development rather than have the access on the west side of the development. They were in favor of having it closer to that property on the west, so more along the west side of the property. So the concept would basically be mirrored, basically flipped, with instead of having their access on the east, it would be more on the west, based on UDOT's preference. Now, UDOT said if they could consolidate those 2 access points, then there wouldn't be any need for a traffic study associated with development of the parcels. If they weren't able to consolidate the access, UDOT would require a level 1 traffic study to evaluate the access for the development. One more thing just to call out here. There's a portion of 1800 South that actually is private. It's owned by the apartments to the west, to the west. So that section that is private is indicated there in yellow. It's about 350 feet long is the distance of the private section. When it comes to the Planning Commission, there was a public hearing. There were 2 individuals that made public comment. One just made a general comment in support of the rezone. Not anyone that said they lived in the area, just attending the Planning Commission meeting and supporting the rezone. The second comment came from a property owner directly adjacent to the subject properties on the south side, an owner of a single-family home there. They were interested in knowing what the proposed timeline would be for development of the property, and they signaled or indicated a preference for a single-family use adjacent to their property rather than commercial or multifamily. And then we got one more public comment. It was a letter that was submitted to the city. Now this comment comes from the owner of the house right on Antelope Drive, directly to the east of the subject properties. So the lady who submitted the letter is Barbara Kawaguchi. So, and I'll just summarize her comment, but what she says is that their family has owned the property for over 65 years, and the mother lived on the property up until 2013. So since 2013, the property has been vacant, except for times when family visits northern Utah, approximately 6 to 7 times a year. So that was the preface of the comment, but then shared some concerns with the rezone request. The first concern was traffic, just that development of the site based on the rezone request would increase traffic to Antelope Drive, which is one of the higher traffic roads in the city. And then additional concerns about noise, trash, garbage, negatively affecting their property based on additional development, questioning water and sewage capacity for additional development, and an indication of their belief that property values would decrease in the area based on development. So Other than that, that's the three individuals that have made public comment. Haven't heard much more than that, or any more than that, I should say. The Planning Commission recommended approval of the rezone. Their recommendation was that any approval would be subject to a development agreement. That was staff's recommendation as well. With that recommendation, it was focused on the proposed rezone generally conforming to the general plan. And positives would be the advancement of commercial development along the corridor, but also a mix of single-family and moderate-income housing opportunities coming to the city. Trade-offs, and there would be trade-offs. The key one identified is the 1800 South connectivity would not be provided at this time with the development. So the timeline for that connection would be completely unknown and likely dependent on development of the property to the east, which all indications are that that's not going to happen anytime soon. So with that, before going to the public comment period, City Council has options to approve the rezone request, deny the rezone request, or table the request to a specific meeting date to request additional information to consider the rezone. Happy to answer any questions as staff if there are any.
Any questions for Tyson? Okay. So now we move to the public hearing comments on the zoning amendment. If anybody would like to speak, I don't have any comments, letters or anything online. No.
Mayor Pro Tem and City Council. I'm Basil Chelmus. My family owns the property. The 1 acre is in my father's trust. The other 1.6 acre is owned by Chelmus Enterprises. That 1.6 acres used to belong to the Kawaguchi family. My father and my uncle purchased that from the Kawaguchis after Mr. Kawaguchi died and wasn't able to farm the property, and continued the development of Chelmus or Crescent Meadows behind. Of course, I'm going to come here and say I'm in favor of this development. It's been something that has been a very difficult way to come about. The property is narrow and long, and it makes it difficult to put a lot of commercial up front and whatever else in the back. And to do all commercial, it makes it even more difficult. I like what has been proposed. I like even more that the entrance would move to the west and not be on the east side. I like that. I like that it eventually could connect into 1800 South. So I'm in favor of this, and I hope that you would consider the rezone. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else would like to speak? All right, seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Your Honor, seeing no more public comment, I move to close public hearing.
I have a motion by Carice. Do I have a second?
Second?
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. All right. Next one, we're going to the subject property zoned R3 residential and currently has 2 multifamily structures as well as commercial storage facility on the property. So we're looking to rezone the front portion of the property located approximately 260 west, 1700 south. Is that right? Okay. Take it away.
All right, yeah, the 2 multifamily structures that you mentioned, those are properties that have been there for a long time. Based on staff research, it looks like they were built in 1945. And then at some point, staff estimates approximately 1985 or so, there was a commercial storage facility that was built along Antelope Drive, right at the front of the subject property. So with this request, they're proposing to rezone just the front portion of the property. That would be approximately half an acre, and that would be rezoned from R3 residential to C2 commercial. The rear 1.4 acres would remain R3 residential and maintain those two multifamily structures. The rezone purpose is to aid in future subdivision and redevelopment of the front portion of the site with a new commercial use. Here you can see on the left-hand side the general plan future land use map. We've got this property designated as general commercial, so that same designation that we just discussed. On the right-hand side, you can see the current zoning where the subject property is zoned R3 residential. There's some additional multifamily properties just to the west that share that R3 zoning designation. But then other than that, a lot of commercially zoned properties all in that area. And then even some M1 manufacturing zoned properties. Here's a site photo of the subject property just showing what it looks like from Antelope Drive. You can see the commercial storage facility there right at the front. And then to the rear you can see a little bit of the multifamily buildings. In evaluating the general plan and the future land use designation, like we talked about with the last request, this designation is primarily for commercial, office, entertainment, retail, restaurants, etc. Mixed use may be considered, but not developed without a commercial component. Staff's analysis is that the requested amendment is consistent with the goals of the general plan and the future land use map, as the C2 zone is one of the appropriate commercial zones for future commercial development. In addition to that, the C2 zone is conducive to redevelopment of the site with a new commercial use, and the request provides an opportunity for the city to have our zoning better align with the general plan future land use designation. The Planning Commission recommended approval of the rezone request. There wasn't any public comment at the public hearing, and with the options before the City Council tonight, they are to approve, to deny, or to table the rezone request to a specific meeting date to request additional information.
Okay. Any questions for Tyson? No? We will open the public hearing. Any that would like to speak, please come forward and give your name as well as the detail that you're looking for. Anyone? Okay, seeing no comments, I look for a motion.
Mayor Pro Tem, seeing as there's no public comments, I move to close the public hearing.
Second. No, it doesn't matter. Just give it to whoever.
I have a motion by Dakota and a second by Carice, close by Nika. Is that right? Which one?
It don't matter.
It's Reese. He's got
You
it.
just made a decision, Mayor Pro Tem.
All right, Carice.
Got you.
We will move forward. The next is the. All in favor. Oh, I'm so sorry. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, seeing none. What's that?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, thank you. Sorry. Okay, you got it. All right. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Okay, seeing none. Then we move to the open comment period. We do not see any comments from the podium. Do we have any other further discussion or comments from the crowd? No? Okay, seeing none, I look for a motion.
No motion needed, Mayor.
No motion?
It's just open comment period.
Okay. All right, so the next one, we're looking for the ordinance approval for 2026-05, approving the zoning map amendment to rezone the front portion of the property located approximately 260 west, 1700 south.
Mayor Pro Tem, can I just make comment? That's the Garden Gate, right? The Garden Apartments, I think, right?
This one,
That ordinance is written to rezone that whole parcel. I didn't realize it was only the front half of that parcel. So when we make the motion, can we?
Table?
No, you don't need to table. Just say to change the location to the front half of that
We're just gonna
parcel.
amend it. Okay, okay, I get what you're saying.
Yeah, so that I can make that change after the meeting.
Okay.
Front half acre.
to front half acre.
Thank you.
Do we have any comments or discussions? I'll entertain a motion.
Let me make sure I've got this right, Nancy.
It's number 6.
Yes, no, but as far as just the wording on this. So I would move to approve ordinance 2026-05, approving the zoning map amendment to rezone the front portion of the property located approximately 260 west, 170 south, from R3 residential to C2 commercial. Is that-
And correct the ordinance too.
And to correct the ordinance. Okay, so make sure I've got the language on that.
Yeah, thank you.
And would authorize the mayor's signature to any necessary documents.
Second.
So I have a motion by Nika and a second by Dakota. All in favor?
Roll call.
Oh, roll call. It's a roll call on this one?
Roll call.
Any ordinance,
Oh,
yes.
that's right. Okay. All right. Nika?
Aye.
Dakota?
Aye.
Carice?
Aye.
Megan? Aye.
Thank you.
Okay. All in favor?
It passed.
Any
You
opposed?
just passed it
Any
down.
opposed? Sorry. Any opposed?
Obviously.
Is she not?
Any further
Yeah,
discussion?
you're unanimous,
Okay,
Mayor
fair
Pro
enough.
Tem.
All right. So the next is the approval of the ordinance 2026, approval of the zoning map amendment to rezone the property located, let me see here. Yep, located at 240 East, 1700 South, from C2 and A1 to C2 R3 and R16 to allow for a mixed-use development.
Madam Pro Tem?
Yes.
Can I just ask a question to our attorney? Before we consider this item, as I was looking at it, where the general plan designation on this is commercial, I'm used to seeing a request for a general plan amendment first, and then a zoning request would then follow, because right now, as proposed, it's not consistent with the general plan, we'd have no authority to pass it. Could you weigh in on that?
I'm not sure did we discuss that prior to?
I mean, the C2, like that's, you know, that's,
With the general
but it's,
plan.
the back ones with the request for R3 and R16 are not consistent with the general plan, which has a commercial on there. So I don't know that we've got the authority to even consider it. So if we could just clarify that before we do anything? Because I was looking to see where those
Yeah,
were, and
me
I'm not
too.
seeing a general plan amendment
We
with
had
that.
that was part of the discussion. You want to speak on that?
Yeah, so with the most recent general plan update, that's new with the general commercial designation. Before, absolutely, we would have had to process a general plan amendment. With the future land use designation, the description of general commercial, it allows for mixed use development with residential to be considered, just with the understanding that commercial is the primary consideration.
Okay.
So mixed use can be considered within that designation, and that could be horizontal mixed use like is proposed here, or vertical mixed use. But the new general plan has that flexibility.
Okay, because I know you,
So
it's been
correct
in
me if I'm
several.
wrong, Tyson. So the answer is it could be interpreted that way, or council could interpret that it's not enough commercial. It doesn't match what they're.
So
To be
it doesn't require an amendment to the general plan, but again, in deciding to grant or not grant the rezone, the commercial is the primary consideration. So if the commercial isn't advancing the city's goals and visions for the corridor, then there's no need to entertain the rezone.
Okay, well, I appreciate the clarification, because I mean, you'd covered that, but I didn't realize that that changed fundamentally as far as how we, like the process as far as a rezone and that requirement that up until that, sounds like that most recent one would have been required. So that answers my question on that. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Can we open this up for discussion before we vote on this one?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking about that too, yeah.
Awesome. Did you want to jump in?
No, you go first. It's okay.
And I imagine we've got applicants here.
Yes, we've got the developers here.
As far as that goes. For the record, just full disclosure, and I imagine several of us will need to do this, we were contacted directly by the applicants while we were in DC. And so we had brief conversations with them at that. So I just want to make sure the record reflects that that was a conversation went down. The extent of that conversation was to say, I prefer to have that discussion here just so that it's transparent. But the gentleman I spoke to, and I don't know, looking at you, there we go, apparently wasn't at the meeting, so I just reiterated what I'd said in the work session, which we'll discuss here, which was just in general. And to Tyson's point, as you go through our ordinance to look at, whether or not we should do a rezone or a general, it sounds like we don't have to do general plan, but just a rezone. There's a couple of criteria that I'll walk through our ordinance. Is there commercial up front? Yeah, that's there. Could there be problems with commercial given the parameters of the property? Sure, that's understandable. It's long and narrow. That is something that would be worthy of considering. Where there's a housing component for mixed use, is it consistent with infill with the projects that are around it? I think it's thoughtfully laid out. It matches. That's not a concern. Would it be entitled as a neighborhood on its own merits coming in? Do we have the right pieces there? This is where I pause. In my opinion, we're missing basic infrastructure. And so if there's not basic infrastructure, and for me that's access that does not use a flag lot entrance or lean entirely on a single commercial one for 40 plus cars easily, accessing off of that. And there's the potential for a regional connection, and I appreciate that that's contemplated. But, I think we've acknowledged that the timing on that is indeterminate, and so it can't be considered right now. And so would we entitle a neighborhood that is a flag lot using commercial access only and without its own dedicated one? For me, that is a standard we can't meet. Now, I recognize that is difficult with this piece of property, but we still have a standard as far as basic neighborhood access if we're going to make a decision that this is a good fit for a mixed-use component of a commercial use. I think the pieces are great. I think there's a lot of part of it's there. But without a dedicated access for the housing in the way that we would ask any other neighborhood to come in, I cannot meet that standard. So that was the comments that I had made in our work session. That has not changed. I realize that there are some challenges there, but we have held that standard as far as development of just basic neighborhood access anytime we put in a project. Even on the Antelope Corridor, where we've got additional very recent commercial mixed-use projects coming in, the concern was not the pieces, those make sense, but the access in and out, impact on the neighborhood, and then also being able to service a neighborhood well. And so I continue to say that standard has not met, and because there is not appropriate neighborhood access to that, I wouldn't be supportive of this because I would never entitle this as a neighborhood on its own merits. I wouldn't disadvantage it out of there. So it's exciting. I would love to see this, I think we're very close on this, but that is significant enough.
Okay.
I apologize. If I can have you direct your comments to Mayor Pro Tem, this is her meeting and her discussion where we get a chance to do that, so I'll direct you
Would you
there.
like to come up and speak? Okay. All right, come up and then just state your name.
My name is Tanner Webster. So we apologize. I guess we were supposed to come up during the public discussion. So sorry about that. Obviously this parcel has lots of challenges. And so the reason for my call was to kind of talk about those and see what we could do, what the city could do, what we could do, what the owner can do, the neighbors can do. And so we just wanted, public hearing and discussion to talk about these items and see what we can do to address those. and hopefully we can. We've been trying to get a hold of the neighbor to the west. I think that's, I mean, I guess everybody.
The apartments, yeah.
Yes, the apartments. They are a massive corporation. It is very challenging to get a hold of them. But we are doing our best. With that, the road to the west, it is smaller than it's going to be in the future. So it will require eminent domain, as far as I know, in the future. So even if we did get that access point, I don't know if it's sufficient yet until the city gets involved. And we are willing to do as much as we can on our property to facilitate that. And then a couple of things that I wanted to, I guess, clarify or reiterate. On the general commercial, that horizontal mixed use, with the commercial being the primary use, we have had discussions with food and beverage users for that specific parcel. We aren't to the point of having like a letter of intent or a lease, but we've been working towards that. And we think that the single-family detached or single-family attached and single-family detached in the back will help facilitate that with the growth and the extra people to use those services. And also, I don't know if this was mentioned, but this will be a for sale project. I just wanted to make that clear, or that is our intent, I suppose. But yeah, and then I'm happy to answer any questions, but we would like to, I guess, kind of hear the discussions, answer some questions, and then come back at a future date and see what we can address in that short time, if that's possible. So happy to answer any questions.
Okay.
I'm just curious. You mentioned that it's been challenging to get in contact with the property owner to the west. It looks like all the property owners to the east are a singular, also large corporation. What conversations have transpired with those property owners? Because I think we've talked about the ideal as far as the connectivity, and that's where I'm seeing the largest amount of consternation as far as granting this rezone request, is just ensuring proper access and opportunity to consolidate those access points in a way that aligns with what we view as the ideal, right?
Yep.
So fill me in on those conversations.
Yeah, so there's a couple. The house, we approached them and asked if they wanted to sell or they wanted to partner or if there's anything we can do, and they passed. They said that they want to, I think they were moving back, if I remember correctly. So they are going to be residing there. The land to the west, to the east, that is owned by a family, and they plan to continue to farm for the near future. We have worked with them trying to get them to similar, partner, sell anything. I don't know if you guys have tried to convince farmers to sell land. They really like farming. So eventually that will be developed. I don't know when. Again, we are willing to put in the infrastructure that we need to do so the city is prepared for that. And then we are also happy to work with engineers to, I guess, alleviate the concerns of, does this provide enough access? We'd be happy to talk to a traffic engineer about that, whether or not that's realistic for the property. So, did that answer your question?
It gave me more context.
Okay.
I think, and to your point, they probably don't want to sell the entirety of those parcels, but have there been any conversations as far as extending the road through them, even though they're not willing at this stage to part with all of it?
So in the previous site plan that I think we had up here, if you remember, we mirrored the access point. One of the issues that we had with that site plan was the access on the east side, because there is one little sliver of land. That makes it difficult when there is a road going right there. So in addition to UDOT's comments, we flipped the parcel, and so it's much more congruent in the future. I imagine it will just be landscaping or trees or something in that regard. And we did try to buy that from them. I tried my best, and they do not want to sell even a sliver of that. So, but we will continue discussions with them. I've been told no many times on land sales, and I will continue to try. So,
thank you. Anything else? Bruce?
No, I mean, my only point is just that there's certain aspects of the uncertainty that this I'm still trying to kind of get through, because this particular item I missed that work session, so kind of now I'm seeing it I studied it before, but seeing it all kind of just come together. Just kind of brings me kind of concerns on there were some differences between a certain other project and how, even though the access discussion was different, there were still differing points. While this just feels like, because of the way this lot sits, I don't know if I don't know what the success is gonna look like on access, which does bring me some concern because of the way, how long it is and how deep it is. So, that's just, I mean, you guys already kind of talked about that big dead horse. At that point, I was like, no point me talking, but yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking, that's all.
That was my concern as well. With it being so deep, as well as the two houses that are closest to the south end, would a potential buyer want to go past all of that to get to their home? Would that create an environment that would be for sale, 20 years down the road? Would that be something that somebody would want to invest in? Plus, it's a lot of traffic going on to Antelope. If there's any type of maneuvering, I don't know anything about the 1800 connection. I mean, that's pretty interesting, that it's going to go straight through.
Yep.
So have you heard anything about it?
Well, it's just that it's on our master plan.
Yeah, that's all.
It's what we want to accomplish, but there's currently not a
no
path forward to accomplish.
And that's what we
There wouldn't
kind
be
of
any.
discussed previously. It's the hope, right?
Yeah,
that
that's my
transpires at some point
concern.
to improve the access. And I think that's what we all like to see.
Yeah.
And to your question of will someone want to buy a single-family home in those circumstances, I don't think that's for us to interpret.
Right.
That's a market-driven consideration.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
And to show some appreciation, I think we have some great pieces here. The for-sale product, impacting affordability in that way, creating more supply, I think that's all things we almost like to see, while preserving that commercial space along the frontage of Antelope. But to Councilmember Peterson's point, I'm not quite sure all those pieces are in place at this stage. So my question actually is kind of get a better sense of your timeline. We had a resident submit a comment to also better understand what the timeline would be were we to grant this rezone. So, like, obviously putting those pieces in place adds to that, but in your opinion, what does the timeline for development look like to kind of answer that concern that we got from the public?
We would like to get moving as soon as possible, of course, just to appease our landowner. That being said, he is very nice and very flexible, and I think he would accommodate until the end of the year with us. But we would like to get moving on this soon. We've got lots of interest from potential residents buying the houses or the single family attached and detached. So we would like to move as quick as possible. So as far as the road infrastructure, a lot of things that are out of our control that we will try to facilitate as much as possible, but yeah.
I'm going to put one thing else out there, just an additional concern I have, and again, I think it could be hopefully a part of the puzzle, the piece, as we figure out a way that this is going to work. In addition to just a main neighborhood access, if there was a granting of a rezone as it's configured now, which contemplates probably just a west single driveway from UDOT, and that's if UDOT allows it without a restricted ones. They're, as you know, very good at putting right outs and doing all that kind of stuff like that.
Right.
So even if you could get past that, I become worried about, you've got several hundred feet of infrastructure on that property that's privately held. You've got driveways and access to the residents and to the, whoever a commercial tenant would be. Where this is going to get really interesting as far as cross-access easements, ownership of that, maintenance of that, again, and if we were looking at this as a regular standalone or even a mixed-use project, at some point that would be something that we would need to be considering, because we have historically seen problems where that type of maintenance ownership long-term, at the 10, 20, and 30-year marks becomes really problematic, because you've got private ownership in two different types. You've got single family, you've got townhomes, you've got commercial, you've got completely separate entities, and they now become tied to, do we have asphalt that can get in and out and access right there? So I think Councilmember Worth put it well. I think we're not there yet, but I think the pieces are good. And again, I appreciate that the residential component that was contemplated on it was respectful and aware of where this would fit into the city. I mean, that wasn't a concern, but those key things are really problematic. I think it would warrant some more discussion. So maybe a question would be, and I speak for myself and not my colleagues, if this is something where there could be additional things hammered out, is there a preference from you and your team as far as a desire for the council to take action wherever that lands today, or to table this item and continue that conversation and see if there's a way of like, are there pieces that we could hammer out and figure out some of these last things before we, make a final decision that would require a complete resubmittal and come back if it's, not the way you would envision?
The latter of those two.
Okay.
We have, so I guess to address some of your comments, the road maintenance and that type of stuff is very complicated. I have done it before on different projects, and there's a master HOA and a sub HOA, and they have different responsibilities, and they pay into different buckets of money, and we can kind of go deeper on that in a work session. So that would be preferred to me.
Okay. And again, that part is further down this process than
Yep.
we are now.
Yep.
The only reason I'm bringing it up is just recognizing that in a rezoning request, the council has full discretionary right here. And so we kind of go into the weeds a little bit based on problems that have been projects that we've loved and that there's just things that we just didn't anticipate.
Yep.
One of them being the failure of multiple HOAs in projects. And then at that point, it becomes a city burden. And so my care and concern about what that might potentially require of our residents to maintain and is something that factors into that. So
Yep.
that's where we're at as far as trying to figure out like what's that version that this comes to this. So I'm not sure the rest of the council is. Right now, I would be inclined to put forward a motion to table and to continue a process of looking at that. In fact, Mayor Pro Tem, I'd put forward a motion right now to table item. If I can read, I'm going to pretend I can see with my glasses.
Number 8.
Let's do table ordinance 2026-06 regarding the property at 240 East, 1700 South. And then date specific, Nancy, what are we looking at? Because we need to make this not indefinite so that there's some clear timelines and we know what we're dealing with.
Yeah, May 12th.
May 12th would be the night of our tentative budget. I mean, that's definitely an option. I don't honestly know how much time will be necessary to work through some issues. So that's, I guess, my
concern.
That's my initial concern of tabling the item is I have no idea if we'd even be ready on May 12th to do anything more than tonight.
We may not, but it's,
right.
At least it.
But I mean, it's
The opportunity.
yeah, it'd be the opportunity to bring it back, and I mean, we're required to do that because you're entitled to a timely answer. So I don't want you to feel like you're getting strung along on there.
I'm not too worried about it.
Can we split the difference? Want to say April 28th? I'm pulling that out of the air.
April 28th.
28th?
Is that the next one?
We have April 14 and April 28.
It's like a month-ish.
I think that would give us enough time.
Is that enough?
Okay. So, Madam Pro Tem, I'm going to start that over again because I got lost in the middle of this. I would move to table ordinance 2026-06 regarding the property at 240 East, 1700 South until the April 28th, 2026 policy session.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Councilmember Peterson and a second by by Councilmember Worth. All in favor? No, I have to do a roll call on this one.
correct.
Thank you. I'm learning.
On a motion to table.
On a motion to table, you don't need it?
Oh, yeah, because when I pass the
Are we
ordinance,
good? All right.
yes, yeah, it's all in favor.
Okay, so I have a motion by.
Or you don't have to?
No, it's just, if you're tabling it, you're not acting on the ordinance
that's true.
itself.
Yeah, so
So
it's
you
just-
can do it.
All in favor?
All in
nice.
favor.
Oh, that's cool.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Motion
Thank you.
stands.
That was April 28th.
28.
Correct.
Mayor Pro Tem, if I could add just another comment
Yes.
for your consideration. If this project is something that is very interesting and is high enough priority, we just had a conversation about using CDRA funds. And perhaps, again, I don't know where this would rank on a priority list, but acquiring as right-of-way that portion of 1800 South that is currently a private street might be worth consideration to kind of, that's a sticking point clearly on this project. So if it's of interest, then I'll just toss that out there. I have no information about how much that would cost, what the property owner's interest would be, so on and
You'd
so
said
forth.
that they didn't,
Right.
so that would be, okay.
That's a lot more work.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. All right, so we will table that discussion, and the next, April 28th will be the next topic on the city council. Next, we move to ordinance 2026-07, amending utility rates, fees, business license fees, planning and zoning fees, as well as building permit and development fees and cemetery fees in the city consolidated schedule. Are there any questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Your Honor, I move to approve ordinance 2026-07, amending the utility fee rates and fees, business license fees, planning and zoning fees, building permit and development fees, and cemetery fees in the city's consolidated fee schedule, and authorize the signature of any necessary documents.
I have a motion.
Second.
And I have a second by Councilmember Worth. Councilmember Peterson?
Aye.
Councilmember Worth?
Aye.
Councilmember, oh God, Carice Thompson.
Aye.
I forgot your last name. Sorry.
Aye.
All right.
And your vote.
And my vote, yes. I vote yes, or aye. And then that passes. The next, approval of resolution 2026R-05, authorizing interlocal cooperation agreement for highways or public transit projects, reimbursement for the Depot Street bike lanes and shared use path.
Braden, you're such a good sport to come in and do this.
I had no idea you were
evening.
even
Thank you so
here.
much.
Yeah.
I'm just click-clacking away back there, not a problem. This first one is for the Depot Street bike lanes. This is part of our active transportation implementation plan, where we were hoping to add bike lanes and a pathway along the Depot Street alignment in order to make that happen, where we have a development now in this one section here developed by Lotus. And we don't have the width that we would need on the street. We do have property available, accessible to us through UTA that is just west of that development. And where that project, the double tracks project being built by UDOT and UTA right now, has been working closely with us. They're able to build that trail as a betterment for us, so we just need to pocket or come up with the money for it. So we were able to apply for and receive some Prop 1 funding from the county in the total amount of $219,000 for the bike lanes and for that pedestrian trail.
Any questions? Or I'll entertain a motion.
That's pretty straightforward.
That's a good idea.
Your Honor, I move to approve resolution 2026R-05, authorizing interlocal cooperation agreement for highways or public transit project reimbursement for the Depot Street bike lanes and shared use path, and authorize your signature to any necessary documents.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilmember Thompson and a second by Councilmember Peterson. Roll
Voice
call.
vote.
What's that?
Yeah, voice vote.
Councilmember Peterson?
Aye.
Councilmember Worth?
Aye.
Councilmember Thompson?
Aye.
Councilmember Rochford? Aye. This is difficult. This is more difficult than I thought.
You're Mayor Pro Tem tonight.
I know, seriously.
Councilmember
I'm not used to doing this. All right, well, the motion passes. Thank you. Next is the consideration of approval for the resolution 2026R-04, authorizing interlocal cooperation agreement for highways or public transit projects, reimbursement with Davis County for funding for the Canal Trail shared use path. And Brandon, I think you're going to take it again.
Yeah. And this is to make a connection of the trail that's existing on the north and the south ends from 200 south to 300 north. Currently, the trail as it is laid out is just using the neighborhood streets. So by building this path on top of the property owned by Davis-Weber County Canals, we are able to make a full connection of a pedestrian trail, a active transportation trail. And in the same process that we applied for funding from the county for the Depot Street bike lanes and shared use path, we are receiving $363,000 in Prop 1 funding from the county to help us build that trail.
Thank you, Brendan. All right. Any further discussion or I'll entertain a motion?
This is like, I'm so glad we're doing this. This is so nice. I get every now
I
and
love
then
it too.
I get people saying
Yeah.
like, this isn't a trail, it's my neighborhood. And it's like, we're working on it.
Thank you.
With that being said, Madam Pro Tem, I would move to approve Resolution 2026R-04, authorizing the interlocal cooperation agreement for highways or public transit project reimbursement with Davis County for funding for the Canal Trail shared use path, and authorize your signature to any necessary documents.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilmember Worth and a second by Councilmember Thompson. Roll call. Councilmember Peterson?
Aye.
Councilmember Ward?
Aye.
Councilmember Thompson?
Aye.
Councilmember Rashford? Aye. Okay, the motion passes. Bless you. All right, next is the mayor's report. So NLC was, bless you, last week we discussed, we had a very busy week. We had a lot of productivity with the grants, looking to see what we can offer or what we can take advantage of based off of the goals that we have for the general plan. We also had a meeting on the immigration, and the police officer chief that was from Minnesota had actually spoke at it. It was a very moving speech. The items that they're dealing with, I don't ever want to encourage here at the city level. So it was a very productive meeting. And Spencer, thank you very much for having our backs and being there to help us and keep us on schedule. Appreciate that.
I heard he was being referred to frequently as father.
Father, yeah, he paid a lot of for bags, checked us in on the plane. It was great.
You make me call him Daddy.
So I enjoyed that thoroughly. And next we'll do the staff reports. So, council's first.
We get to
And
go
then
through.
staff. Okay, got it. Okay. Councilmember Peterson.
Thank you. Well, I will keep my comments on NLC as far as just like takeaways for another time. Just a couple things. Again, thank you to Spencer, our dedicated leader. We appreciate that. We had a lot of people, though, who helped make this trip possible. As always, Nancy and Kirsty, thank you. And JJ, there's so much that happens on the lead up to getting that. So, like, thank you for all of the stuff that lets us get out the door. I really appreciate it. Our Youth Commission advisor, Jenna, and Councilmember Worth as our second on that as well. That was awesome to do that. I got a letter today. It's in my bag. I won't read it, but it was a handwritten note from Senator Curtis, but just acknowledging our youth group and the impression that he made on them. So just thank you for that. And then also to Councilmember Thompson, who chose to get a rental car when he was out there, but that came in handy so often with flight issues and delays, and but also it allowed an experience in DC as far as different cultures, different food, different neighborhoods, and to see an impact so much different. So I appreciate you being tour guide in so many ways on that, so thank you. As far as a report from Wasatch Integrated, just a couple things. A while ago, the district had received a Swiffer grant, which broadly deals with a lot of initiatives with recycling. It's a little over $3 million. We've been waiting for that, but that's finally starting to come through. So some of our neighboring cities that are still trying to make some decisions on recycling, this will hopefully help their communities with ways we can just take care of assets a little bit better. Also, we are getting ready to break ground for a new facility up near the landfill that will collect methane gas and actually pipe it and allow it to be sold off. That has been an ordeal. So that has been a long time in the pipeline. However, it looks like August of this year, we will finally be able to get shovels in the ground and go on that, and we hope to have a ribbon cutting beginning of 28. So that's been a really, really long time coming on that. And that's all I have from Wasatch Integrated. Thank you.
Okay, Councilmember Brewer.
Yeah, so I'll echo a lot of those sentiments as far as DC goes. I'll reserve the detailed notes and the recap for when we have a chance to debrief and strategize on how to move forward. But it was a great experience to spend time and learn about the ingenuity that our national counterparts have put in place in their cities all across the nation. And truly, it felt very impactful to be able to advocate for critical infrastructure funding and transportation funding with our congressional delegation. I think we can do a lot there to move the needle here locally and get that return on investment in Clearfield for us getting out there. But really, to highlight our Youth Commission as they've gone out there, and this year in particular took a really vested interest in ways that we can combat teen homelessness and bringing that issue to that congressional delegation and advocating for their peers and people that don't have that same opportunity to get in front of policymakers at the national level. And they did so with such grace and poise. It was great to hear feedback from Congressman Moore's staff and Senator Curtis's staff as they've gotten a chance to get in front of them, and just the opportunities afforded to them to visit the White House and get those civic engagement opportunities under their belt. And I'm just eternally grateful we are not traveling this week as
Oh, yeah, I heard. It was bad.
and then from the fire district, we are starting conversations on bringing the emergency manager. As you remember, we had a 3-city agreement to have that between us, Clinton, and Sunset, and those conversations are happening to do that under the fire district's umbrella, where it probably makes a lot more sense, and we're undergoing that discussion. So more to share on that front, but yeah, that's really all I've got.
Okay, Councilmember Thompson.
I'm not going to really say much other than I enjoy some good tacos.
I wasn't going to bring them up.
It's okay.
Wasn't going to do it.
You know, some tacos were better than the others. But outside of that, yeah, you know, just I'll save really the rest of the NLC report for a time where we're all more here. But overall, it was a great experience. It was a great experience sharing things with you all personally during that trip, especially because I had a rental car. Getting to see DC in a way that not only brings it from a historic sense, but the real people sense, so we understand really what that city's about. And in even more of a holistic sense, I'll just say that being able to share time with my colleagues and the assistant city manager and to really advocate for the city just brings in just a new pride to us every day to know that we have that ability together. Other than that, I have nothing else to report.
There was one comment I wanted to tell you. I'd forgotten about it. When we were on the Race and Equity Leadership Council, they made a comment, like a quote, don't forget the salt when you're making a cake. So a teaspoon of salt, if forgotten, will throw the whole thing out. We have to remember those little details that make projects flourish. Like today when we talked about the roadway. So having those little details, that matters. Those little things matter. So I really thought that was a good sentiment. Don't throw out the cake before you add the right ingredients to an issue. So that's what I have. Staff reports.
I don't have anything tonight.
Just our schedule, we do not have a meeting next week. We are currently planning on a work session on April 7th. We've got policy and work sessions scheduled for April 14th and the 28th. Right now, we don't have anything on the 21st of April. We'll just kind of keep an eye on that.
Okay.
And of course, the first policy session in May will present the tentative budget.
And Spencer's got some items as well.
Spencer, would you like to speak? Oh, he has printouts.
Got brochures.
Mostly, I just wanted to walk by Lieutenant Carlson and make sure he was still awake. So it's good. We're grateful he's here tonight with us, but I noticed he's not used to these meetings either. So, Mayor Pro Tem and Council, thank you. May I just say thank you. I was a first timer in DC, and I appreciate everybody's support and assistance to let me enjoy myself. I am grateful for what I learned about each of you in different ways, whether it was grasshoppers or Subway or whatever the case may be. There's a lot learned on this trip, and I'm grateful for that. But that's not why I'm here. So I'd like to talk to you about a couple things. So tomorrow at 12:30, if you're interested, our communications division will be presenting a recognition to El Burrito. So if you would like to come and participate in that, I'm sure he'd love to have as many people as possible be there. So there's that. That's tomorrow at 12:30 at El Burrito. And then additionally, you may have gotten some emails. I'm not sure if they went to everybody, but the new Davis County EOC will be christened this Friday at 1 p.m. You're all invited to participate in that. It's open to the public. So that'll be down in Farmington. So feel free to join in that celebration. There are refreshments. I saw at the bottom, no grasshoppers, but there are refreshments. So, and then also on Saturday, and I recognize this is something that may not work for your schedules, but even still, Danielle told me she wouldn't be able to make it. But if you want, there is a training for emergency management to kind of give you an inside look at what it looks like for you as an elected official. So if you'd like to attend there, again, you should have gotten the email. If you didn't, let me know. I'll forward it to you, but it should have come to all elected officials by way of Davis County. That would come from Ember Herrick, who is Davis County Emergency Manager. So those items I just wanted to bring to your attention if you had not seen them or if you had questions, so we can make sure you were in the loop on those. So thank you.
Thank you. All right. I believe that's it. So I will entertain a motion to close the city council meeting.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
I have a motion, a second.
We're done.
That's it. We're done.
Again,
Okay.
that's a day's work.
Wait, that is like, it's a lot of, well, you're forgetting like the steps. I mean, it's just, I need more practice. That's the,
If you
that's
thought
the
that was
issue.
intention, you need to chair Davis
I
County
mean,
Public
I
Party.
think I need
Yeah,
to,
this isn't very
That's-
contentious.
that's like-
there's so
that's
many
like-
little steps
It's
that you
fun,
just don't.
where you get the old Robert
Yeah,
Rules
like
guy.
when I was in
Don't
high
take
school,
it.
that